Guys, hey y'all, happy Wellness Wednesday. Although it's not Wednesday, it's Friday because we had to push back our day. Normally, Brandy and I go live on every other Wednesday, but we have been without power. I know some of you have been following my journey on Facebook. We're still without power, so I'm really hoping that my internet holds up here and we can do this. But Brandy and I have been coming live now, like I said, every other Wednesday for a while. Gosh, how long have we been doing this now?
It's been what, 3 months?
It's been a while. And
Been a
guys,
while.
we just want to come to you and talk all things mental health and wellness. And today we're actually going to talk about some unexpected things that we have learned about, or that we learned, I should say, about mental health during 2024. We've kind of talked about we've kind of worked our way through some of the pillars. We've still got a couple pillars that we're going to come to you about yet, but we kind of keep stumbling across more and more and more information that we want to share, that we want to get out there, that we want to educate on, and it's really important. So I know I have a whole bunch of new people joining me on my profile. So if you are new to my profile, guys, jump in there and drop a new. I would love to connect with you if I have not had the opportunity. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Jazzy Will. I am a certified mental health coach and a food first specialist, guys. And my passion, the thing that seriously drives my soul, is bringing this education to you and helping you live your very best life. And I have Brandy Benton joining me. I love this lady. I love doing this together. She is just a phenomenal lady, and I'm going to let her tell you guys a little bit about herself.
Yeah, I'm Brandy Benton, and I'm a somatic coach and educator. And I really specialize in anxiety and emotional regulation. So, really doing some of that deep body work to address the underlying factors of our anxiety so that we can heal that and release that from our body.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Brandy, we were talking just before we jumped on live here, what yesterday was.
What was yesterday, Jazzy?
Yesterday was International Day of Happiness. I love it. I love it. And you know what, guys? Even though we are on day, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, day 3 of no power, it just feels good to be happy. And here's the thing: I wanted to share this with you because of the fact that yesterday was International Day of Happiness. The World Happiness Report came out for 2025, and I really found this really fascinating. It talks about people are much kinder than we expect. And that's what the research in this report actually shows, is that people are actually much kinder than we expect. But here was what I found so fascinating. This report goes really, really, really deep, guys. If you want to go over and read it, please feel free to do so. But what I found really interesting, Brandy, was it talked about belief in the kindness of others is much more closely tied to our happiness than we previously thought. So, it kind of explains, I think, a lot of the loss of happiness in the world today. What do you think?
I honestly would love you to pause and say that statement again. Like that was so powerful. Like let's just let it sink in for a second.
Yeah, it says belief in the kindness of others is much more closely tied to happiness than we previously thought. Guys, I mean, that's saying, you know what? If we don't have the belief in the kindness of others, how do we find happiness?
hmm Yes. And there's a couple things that I want to address. But first off, we're really seeing, hate to be so cerebral, but what we're really seeing is the nervous system in action. So a lot of the work that I do is helping people get to that place in their nervous system where they feel safe. And we're saying that when we're seeing the kindness of others, it's as if we're seeing the world as a safe place. When we're not seeing the kindness in others and we're seeing every single person as a threat, then we are seeing the world as a threat. And we're actually in a completely different nervous system state, a nervous system state that's about protection, that's about separation, that's about being prickly and making sure no one takes advantage of you. And it makes perfect sense. that if we were to be in a regulated, healthy nervous system state, that we will have more happiness. And 100%, those two things are 100% linked.
Yeah, that's powerful. Wow. So today, kind of what we wanted to, we got a little off topic there, but today I kind of wanted to talk about, um, well, you know what? That report is really, really fascinating. Some of the things it talks about, it even like goes into the fact that, as a family unit, we don't sit down at the table and how much happiness we can find there. Do you see what I'm saying? That's kind of become a thing of the past. I mean,
Mhm,
like when my kids were at home, I made a specific point of sitting down and we had to have conversations. There were no devices, but we
mhm.
every single night come together as a family and ate dinner and talked. Nowadays, if people do come to the table, what are they doing? They've got this right in front of their face.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, it really made sense when I was reading that report how all of this is tied together.
Yes, absolutely. Like when you're sitting down at the table, what are you doing? You're connecting, right? You're opening. You're not feeling separated. You're not feeling alone. What are devices doing, right? We know that they're actually giving us anxiety, right? They're moving at a speed that's much faster than our bodies really want to move at. We're being given information lightning fast, right? TikTok videos are so quick. And so we're learning to have a shorter and shorter attention span. And all of these things also just keep us up in our head. And really, if you want to get out of your anxiety, the source is to come back down to your body, right? Be in your little soft animal body, be connecting with your family, be doing all of those things that actually make you feel really, really good. Maybe you can't articulate why it is that you feel good when you do those things, but you notice the difference, right? You can feel it when you have a great conversation with someone, when you feel listened to, when someone's giving you good eye contact, when you feel safe in that conversation, you feel heard in that conversation. All of those things are reinforcing our safety, or they're reinforcing our community, right? We're social beings. We like to be connected. That's a big part of our survival. So that feels really good. And then, the piece where you're on the devices, you're pulling yourself away from that. So absolutely.
And you know how simple is something like that? I mean, that is so super easy to do. I know, lots of times, like my kids dealt with a lot at school, and this was their opportunity to sit down and talk through some of those things,
Ah,
get help, get advice. I mean, and to me, just sitting down at a table, and eating a meal together is one of the easiest things that we can do.
it's an
Right?
opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity to get those things off of your
Yep.
chest. It's an
Yep.
opportunity to come up with solutions, to laugh, right? Maybe once you say this situation out loud, it's actually kind of silly and you laugh about it. You're like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, okay, this whole thing that I made up in my head is not even that big of a deal at all, right?
Oh, and that's a whole other topic right there, you know? So, guys, here's what we wanted to talk and share a little bit about today, and that is unexpected things that we learned about mental health and our brains in 2024. And I'm going to just kind of like list through these. So, Brandy, anytime that you kind of want to stop, and chat, talk about it, please feel free to. So, I like this word, brain. Well, I don't like the word, but it so explains it. It talks about brain rot is the Oxford Word of the Year for 2024.
Ouch.
Ouch, right?
What
But
is happening
guys,
to us?
yeah, it's pretty much it says it's pretty much what it sounds like. Actually, it says a perceived mental decline from consuming too much online media. That's what they are saying is brain rot. Right? We were just talking about that. Nowadays, when people sit down to eat, they've got their devices right there. I mean, I'll go out, my husband and I will go out for dinner, and I look around the restaurant, and 95% of the people are not communicating. They're sitting there talking out there, they're sitting there looking at their phones. Right?
That's for
And I'm
sure,
just like,
Brittany.
yeah, put the phone away, guys. You've gone out to eat. Let's sit and communicate. So, anyway, brain rot. Isn't that fascinating? Okay. So, one of the things I talked about is that writing by hand beats typing for learning and memory. Guys, there's something about this little thing right here that goes all the way from here up to here,
Mhm.
right?
And again, you're doing that mind body connection, right?
Yep.
So getting your hand, the motor skills.
Yeah. It says it actually for kids, it was proven to improve letter recognition and learning. And it said when adults take notes by hand, it can lead to better understanding of the materials. Fascinating. Get rid of the brain rot, right? The next thing, oh, this one I love. Your gut microbes can affect your mood. Oh my gosh. Now, I have to say, I started talking about this 6 years ago. I
Okay.
started hearing about it probably 8 to 10 years ago. And I was really fascinated with it. So, this is why I've dove in and started doing the things I'm doing because your gut is literally connected to the brain. They communicate back and forth, and that affects our mood. I mean,
Yeah.
stop and think about it. When you don't feel good, what kind of a mood are you in? Right. And all of that stems from the gut. I just, like I said, I was like, yes. And they just discovered that in 2024. I love it. Okay. Get this. Working late in young adulthood may lead to depression and poor health in
Mhm.
middle age.
Mhm.
That was fascinating to me.
Yeah, and this actually, again, makes perfect sense. We're talking so much about the body and how the body operates and how it thrives. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we have to remember we are humans, right? Just as if you had a car and you had an operating manual and you understood how that car worked, we have an operating manual as in these human bodies, right? Our bodies are asking for certain things. And if we're not giving it those things, we don't feel the way we should feel, right? So
Right.
depression is a symptom of the body not being given, not getting its needs met in a lot of
Yeah.
cases, right? Like you were talking about the gut health, and a lot of times there's depression related to gut health issues, but then also the sleep. So we have a natural circadian rhythm, and we're intended to be asleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. That's actually when the body is designed to do a majority of its repair work. So
Mhm.
our bodies are releasing all of detoxing and releasing all of the cells that we're not using or that are broken or that are basically kind of clunking things up, right? So it's releasing all of that, it's repairing, and it's doing all of this, a majority of that work between those hours. So if you're not asleep during those hours, your body isn't doing that repair work. And then what happens? You feel sluggish, you feel lethargic, you feel emotionally blah, right?
Yeah.
Blase. Because imagine, that if you didn't go to the bathroom for 5 days, right? You probably feel it in your body. and, and so a lot of times, these symptoms, right? These symptoms we
Yeah.
start giving, putting people on medications, and we don't
Mhm.
really look deeper into, well, what are the life factors? And sleep is a huge life factor when it comes to our
Huge.
mental and emotional health.
Yeah. In fact, we spent a couple of times like just talking about sleep, and I think we could talk about it yet even more because it really does make a huge difference when it comes to our mental health. How about this one? It says about 40% of dementia cases could be prevented or delayed by improving daily habits.
Mm.
Mind blowing, right? Just by improving your daily habits, you could actually prevent or delay dementia.
What are some of
Um,
those habits, Jazzy?
What are some of those habits? Sleep was one of them,
Yeah.
right? Just your sleep, your food, the nutrition, exercise. Just to me, those are like the staples. Am I right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 I mean, and it does. I've also heard that sleep is connected to dementia.
Yeah. Another factor is keeping our brains learning. So always learning something new. So they did this study and they found that 60-year-olds that had the brains of 20-year-olds were ones that were continuing to do things later in life, like take a dance class, do a triathlon, do things where they were continuing to learn and their brain was always having to stay in that beginner's mind of trying something new versus being in the redundancy or the routine of their daily life. And so there, I don't know if you've seen the Martha Stewart documentary, but she has like a life motto. I think she has two mottos, but one of them is like learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's easy enough, right? Like pick up the newspaper, just have that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to learn a new fact or I'm going to learn how to do a new thing, whatever that happens to be. It keeps your brain sharp.
Yeah. Well, and Les Brown always has said, I mean, for years and years and years, I've heard him preach 20 minutes a day of reading, 20
Yeah,
minutes a day. Read 20 minutes every day. Doesn't matter what it is, just read 20 minutes every single day. But so, yeah, this one's my favorite. Weight training can help with anxiety and depression. Here again, I've been saying this all along. I mean, I've struggled with anxiety and depression all my life. The one thing that I've always held to that has been my salvation is working out every single day.
hmm,
I know people have asked me, how can you stay so diligent about it? I'm like, it's my sanity.
yeah,
It's literally what keeps me sane. This talks about weight training. And I know getting to the age that I'm getting to or that I'm at, I've really started incorporating more strength training into it because right now we're hearing more and more and more about weight training and the importance
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So, I mean, these are all guys, these are really fascinating. How about this one? Does this surprise you? Ultra processed foods are linked to poor mental health.
No, not surprising at all.
And you go into the store and what's 90% of the store? It might even be 95% of
Yeah,
the store. It's ultra
right.
processed foods. It's
It's
craziness.
again back to what is it that your body needs to thrive, right? It needs good nutrition and it needs real fresh fruit and vegetables, right? Real fresh food. And if you look on the back of the ingredients list, you can't name most of those things. They're not
Nope.
foods, they're things
Nope.
that have been made in labs and our bodies can't process them and they're definitely not nutrition, right? And so if you're not getting the nutrition you need, again, you're going to feel it in your mental and emotional health, in addition to your energy level in your body, of course.
Yeah. Which is why we're seeing these numbers rise. This is why more and
Right.
more people we're seeing, are struggling with these mental health issues because they're not providing the proper nutrition that their body needs to function properly. So, next, guys, scientists are learning how the brain removes waste. We just talked about this, how the brain removes waste and what it means for Alzheimer's, headaches, depression, and more. Crazy. Um, a high fat, low carb diet could help some people with mental illness. I thought that was fascinating. A high fat, low carb diet. Growing up as a kid, I grew up in the era where, oh my gosh, we took all fats out of the diet.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was like, you know, I grew up on Crisco.
Mm. Oh no,
I know. Tell me
that's so
about
much
it.
worse.
But I mean, we like literally we did not have anything. We ate low fat, we drank 1% milk, skim milk, we had to remove all of that fat out of our diet. So it's really fascinating now that they're flipping that switch and I'm reading more and more and more about it that those high fat nutrient rich foods are
Mhm.
so important. I'm not saying go out and eat a bucket of lard or a stick of butter. Do you know what I'm saying? We're talking like avocados. We're talking foods that are really, really high in fat, but that are also very nutrient dense. And I think
Mhm.
that makes a huge difference. So, one more. And I know, Brandy, you really wanted to touch on this one. So I'm really super excited. Let me find it here. I'm scrolling through this whole. There it is. Talking to your parts can help you deal with stress and maybe change your life. Talking
Yes,
to your parts.
talking to your part. So if you're unfamiliar with this concept, essentially the idea is, right, like if you're looking at a beautiful mosaic, right? Maybe it's a picture, a scene of a, some trees and flowers and whatnot. To create that mosaic are all these different little parts. And so the concept behind parts work is that you are that mosaic with all those different little parts. And when your parts are in harmony, life obviously is a lot better. But if you had all of those parts and they were not working together, right? They were in disharmony, they maybe didn't agree, or you weren't able to work with them in a way that, allowed you to be at peace, then that would be obviously very challenging. So, one of the things that I do within my work is some parts work, but honestly, some easy understanding around this is I'll tell people put together a pros and cons list, right? Something really simple like, where are we going to go to dinner? And you'll immediately recognize the different parts within you because one part will say, oh, I want to go to the Mexican place. And then another part will be like, but we always go to the Mexican place. And then another part will be like, let's go to the steakhouse. And then another part will be like, but the steakhouse is too expensive and we're on a budget. Like, ding, 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 ding. So very quick, right? To start to identify that we have these different parts within us. And instead of trying to bully them or ignore them or suppress them, what works best really is if you approach them with curiosity and compassion. And so as you're hearing these parts, right? Let's say we're getting on this call today, and there's a part of you that's like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And there's another part that's like, but I'm really scared. What if I say something stupid and no one likes what I said? Right? It's like instead of ignoring that part, what if you were to instead address it with curiosity and compassion? Like, oh, like, why are you worried about that? Or what makes you think that? Or like, don't worry, no matter what you say, I'm going to love you anyways. It's okay if you make mistakes, right? And so when we start talking to ourselves and when we start engaging with these different parts of ourselves that are hurt or anxious or sad or angry or grumpy with curiosity and compassion, it goes over so much better than if we bully or ignore or suppress.
You just blew my mind. No, it makes so much sense, I mean, and like you said, it's so much better when all of the parts like come together. I mean, when you were talking about the mosaic, I was visualizing a puzzle. And it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
If those puzzle pieces don't go together, it's not gonna work. Do you know what
Imagine
I'm
what it feels
saying?
like inside you if the puzzle is just all jumbled. Just
Yeah. Yeah. And how often do we feel that way? I mean, guys, if you ever feel that way, drop a one in the comment box because it's like, holy buckets, I'd be going one, 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 one. Because that just happens so often. And I've never taken the time to like literally stop and go, let me address this.
yeah,
And here
yeah,
again, how simple is that? How simple
yeah.
is that? I love
And
it.
and what I find is when we ignore the parts or we suppress them, it's almost like when you have a kid and you're ignoring your kid, right? And they're like, Mom,
Mom, mom,
Mom,
mom, mom.
Mom, Mom! Or only gets louder or like more obnoxious or does things to try to get their needs met, right? To be heard,
Yeah.
just like a kid would. And so I find that it's actually much easier and you're going to have a smoother day if you're giving some airtime to that part without letting yourself be overtaken, right? Like allowing yourself to like feel some of that sadness, feel some of that anxiety without just crumbling over it. So almost imagining yourself like a parent, right? Like this part of yourself that is feeling the anxiety or the hurt or the pain is the child, and you're the mama bear coming in and just giving it some love. You're not getting caught up in the sadness, right? Like if your child came to you crying, you wouldn't get on the floor with your child and start bawling. That would be weird. Doesn't help if you're both on the ground crying. But if you come in like that little mama bear and you put your arm around them and you just hold them and you give them compassion, then usually in a few minutes, what happens? They cried themselves out and they're feeling better and they're ready to go play again.
Yeah, gosh. Like I said, you blew my mind. I think we should just like stop right there, right?
That's a good time.
No, actually, that was so good. I mean, I don't know about you guys. You know what? If you learned something today, drop a number two, drop a boom, drop something in the comments. Let us know. Boom! I like that one. Anything else? Any words of wisdom that we can leave with until we come back again?
Honestly, just can you continue connecting to your body, to your heart? Those things are going to be your guide, right? And that's where you're going to really find your true happiness.
There we go. I love that. Hey guys, you know what? That's it. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more mental health and wellness tips, hacks, fun talk. I don't know what else. What else is there? Right?
All the things.
All the things.
Improv,
Just
dancing.
yeah. Just come back and join us. Hey, and you never know what I'm going to show up with, right? So anyway, hey guys, you know what? Go out, take on the rest of your day with grace and gratitude, and we will catch you guys all later. Bye.
Mwah!